The complete story. The sound hit Millbrook first, a low rumble that started as a whisper on the horizon and built into thunder. 97 Harley-Davidson motorcycles rolling in formation down Highway 22, chrome gleaming in the early morning sun. The kind of sound that made windows rattle and hearts stop. Elena Hayes sat at the front of that thunder. 42 years old, 5'9" leather vest, worn smooth from 2 decades of riding, her hands steady on the handlebars, even though her chest felt like it might crack open. 21 years. 21 years since she'd run from this town with nothing but terror and frostbite. 21 years since a woman she barely knew had looked at her and said 3 words that saved her life. The town hadn't changed. Same white church steeple poking up through the trees, same gas station with the faded Texaco sign, same 2-street downtown, that time forgot, and their corner of Main and Cedar Morris Family Bakery. The paint on the sign was more faded now, weathered by 2 decades of Pennsylvania winters, but the lights were on, 5 in the morning, just like always. Elena raised her fist. Behind her, 96 engines cut to silence in perfect unison. The sudden quiet felt louder than the roar. She could see movement through the bakery window. A figure gray-haired now, moving between the ovens with the same efficient grace Elena remembered. Her throat closed up. She'd rehearsed this moment for 8 months, planned every word. But now, sitting outside that door, she felt like she was 11 years old again. Small, scared, certain she didn't deserve to be here. "You ready, Prez?" The voice belonged to Snake, her vice president, 6'4", 260 pounds of muscle and loyalty. He'd ridden beside her from Pittsburgh without question, same as he'd done for 15 years. "No," Elena said honestly, "but we're doing it anyway." She swung off her bike. Her legs felt unsteady. Ridiculous. She'd faced down rival clubs, dirty cops, prison time. She'd built a business from nothing and a foundation that had changed 200 lives. But walking up to that bakery door was the hardest thing she'd done in years. The bell chimed when she pushed through. Same bell, same cheerful ring. The woman at the counter looked up, customer service smile already in place. "Good morning, you're up early." She stopped. The smile froze, and Elena watched recognition move across Diane Morris's face like sunrise breaking. Sarah. The name came out as a whisper, Elena's old name, the name from before. "It's Elena now," she managed. "Elena Hayes, I changed it when I was 18. Diane's hand went to her mouth. She was 73 now, Elena knew. Lines around her eyes that hadn't been there before, hands more gnarled with arthritis. But her eyes, God, her eyes were exactly the same. Kind, clear. The eyes that had looked at a bleeding, terrified child and seen someone worth saving. "You came back," Diane's voice cracked. "I thought I didn't know if you were alive, if you were safe. I've wondered every day for 21 years. "I'm alive," Elena said, "because of you." She'd meant to say more, had a whole speech prepared, but the words stuck in her throat, and what came out instead was, "I brought some people. They're outside, a lot of people. I need you to know they're not here to scare you. They're here because of what you did for me." Diane moved around the counter flour, dusting her apron. "What I did, sweetheart, I gave you some bread and you told me I mattered." Elena's voice shook. "You looked at a kid everyone else had given up on, a kid who was dirty and beaten and probably dying, and you said, 'You matter, child. You are important.' Do you have any idea what that meant?" Diane was crying now. So was Elena. 42 years old, president of one of the most feared motorcycle clubs in Pennsylvania, crying in a bakery like a child. "You saved my life," Elena continued. "Not just that day, every day since. Every time I wanted to give up, every time I thought I was worthless, I heard your voice. So I kept going. I built something. I became something, and I need you to see it." She pulled an envelope from inside her vest. Her hands trembled as she held it out. "There are 97 people outside. Hell's Angels from 16 different states. We rode here together because I told them what you did, and they wanted to honor it. Most of them have stories like mine. Someone who showed them kindness when they needed it most. Someone who made them believe they mattered. Diane took the envelope with shaking hands. Elena, I don't understand. Open it. Inside it was a deed. 15,000 square feet in downtown Pittsburgh, and a photograph of a building with a sign that read, the Diane Morris Second Wind Center. Below it in smaller letters, because everyone matters. Diane pressed her hand to her chest, made a sound that was half sob, half laugh. What is this? 6 years ago, I started a foundation, Second Wind. We help kids aging out of foster care. Kids like I was thrown into the world at 18 with nothing. We've helped over 200 so far, but we needed a real space. Somewhere they could come and know they're safe. Know they matter. Elena's voice steadied. We bought this building, renovated it, hired counselors and job trainers, and people who actually give a damn. It opens next week. She paused. And I want you to run it. I'm 73 years old. I run a bakery. I don't know anything about... You know how to see people, Elena interrupted. You know how to make them feel like they matter. That's all these kids need. Someone who sees them, someone who cares. You did it for me. You can do it for them. Diane stared at the photograph, at the building, at the sign bearing her name. When she looked up, her eyes were full of wonder and terror in equal measure. Can I think about it? Of course, but first, can I bring them in? The people outside, I know 97 bikers showing up at dawn is probably not. Yes, Diane said it immediately firmly. Yes, of course. Oh Lord, I need to make more coffee. Elena laughed, actually laughed. The sound felt foreign, like she'd forgotten how. Mrs. Morris, you don't have to feed them. Diane looked at her like she'd suggested stopping breathing. I have 97 hungry people outside my door. Of course I'm feeding them. Now go tell them to come in groups of 10 and wipe their boots. The next 3 hours were chaos and beauty tangled together. Wave after wave of leather-clad bikers filing through Morris Family Bakery. Men and women who looked like nightmares come to life covered in tattoos and scars and stories they'd never tell. And Diane moved through them like a grandmother at a family reunion, pouring coffee, bringing out trays of cinnamon rolls, asking about their rides and their lives. Elena watched from the corner, heart full to bursting. Snake stood beside her, shaking his head in disbelief. She's something else, he said. Yeah, she really is. By 8 o'clock, half the town had gathered outside. Elena could see them through the window. Phones out, filming everything. Police Chief Robert Garrett stood on the sidewalk, looking torn between shutting it down and asking for a cinnamon roll. Diane marched outside, hands on her hips. Elena followed, curious. Don't even think about it, Bobby Garrett. The chief held up his hands. Mrs. Morris, with all respect, that's the Hells Angels. That's Elena Hayes and her family, Diane corrected sharply. And they're welcome in my establishment. You have a problem with that. Just making sure everything's okay. Everything's wonderful. Diane's voice could cut glass. Now, do you want a roll or not? He did. Inside, Elena's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and felt her stomach drop. Her lawyer, at 8 in the morning. Never good. She stepped outside to take the call. Blake, what's wrong? We've got a problem. City Council's calling an emergency vote for Monday. They're moving to revoke Second Wind's permits. The world tilted. On what grounds? They're claiming safety concerns, saying a Hells Angels-run organization poses a risk to the community. They've got 3 votes locked to deny. We need 4 to pass. Who's undecided? Councilman Richard Peters and Rebecca Thornton. Peters has been in Harrison Development's pocket for years, and Thornton, I know who Thornton is. Elena's jaw clenched. Rebecca Thornton, former district attorney, built her career prosecuting motorcycle clubs, tried to nail their chapter on RICO charges 4 years ago. The woman had a vendetta that bordered on obsession. Blake, we've got the building, we've got the staff, we've got 200 kids counting on this. I know, but if they vote Monday, we're done. Harrison Development wants that property. They'll sue to force the sale. Elena ended the call and stood in the cold morning air, feeling everything she'd built crumbling. Snake found her 2 minutes later. What happened? Council vote Monday. They're trying to shut us down before we open. Snake cursed. Harrison. Has to be. We outbid them for the building. Now they're using the council to steal it back. What do we do? Elena looked back at the bakery, at Diane inside surrounded by 97 bikers who'd ridden across the country for this moment, at the woman who'd saved her life with bread and 3 words. We fight, she said. We've got 4 days to flip 2 council members. So we fight. But even as she said it, her phone rang again. This time the name on the screen made her heart stop. Rachel, her ex-wife, calling at 8 in the morning. Rachel, what's wrong? It's Sophia. Rachel's voice was tight with barely controlled panic. She's gone. 21 years ago, when Elena was still Sarah, when she was still 11 years old, and certain the world wanted her dead, she'd learned that fear came in layers. The surface layer was immediate. The fist coming toward your face, the belt in your stepfather's hand, the cold when you had nowhere to sleep. But beneath that was something worse. The fear that you were the problem, that you deserved the pain, that no matter how far you ran, you'd carry the worthlessness with you like a disease. She'd felt that deeper fear standing in Diane Morris's bakery on a January morning in 2004. 11 years old face swollen from where her stepfather had hit her ribs, screaming with every breath. She'd stolen a sandwich from a gas station 2 towns over and run when the clerk shouted. Ran until her lungs burned and her legs gave out. Ran until she found herself in Millbrook, a town so small it barely existed. The bakery had been warm. That's what she remembered most. Warm and smelling like cinnamon and bread. She pressed her face against the window, watching people inside eating and talking and being human. Being safe. The door had opened. A woman stood there, maybe 50, with kind eyes and flour on her apron. Child, you're freezing. Come inside. Sarah had run before. Every adult who'd noticed her had either ignored her or called the cops. But something in this woman's voice made her stop. Inside, the warmth had felt like knives on her frozen skin. The woman sat her down, brought her hot chocolate and a cinnamon roll, still warm from the oven. What's your name? Sarah. Her voice had barely worked. Sarah Mitchell. I'm Diane Morris. This is my bakery. The woman studied her face, the bruises, the fear. You're hurt. I fell. Sweetheart, I've seen a lot of falls. That's not a fall. Diane's voice was gentle but firm. Someone hurt you. Sarah had started crying then. Couldn't help it. Diane didn't push. Just sat with her, let her eat, let her cry. When the tears finally stopped, Diane said something that changed everything. You matter, child. Do you hear me? You are important. Whatever's happened, whatever you are running from, you matter. Don't you forget that. 3 words. You matter. You are important. Sarah had carried those words out of the bakery when her stepfather found her 3 hours later. Carried them through the beating he gave her for running. Carried them when she finally escaped for real, 2 days later, hitchhiking out of Pennsylvania with nothing but the clothes on her back. Carried them through 6 years of shelters and street corners and survival. Through arrests and social workers and judges who looked at her like she was already lost. Through every moment she wanted to give up and die. You matter. At 17, strung out and desperate in a Philadelphia alley, she'd met Margaret Stone, Maggie to everyone who knew her. 60 years old, 5'0", covered in tattoos and radiating the kind of authority that made grown men step aside. Maggie ran a motorcycle repair shop. She'd found Sarah sleeping behind her dumpster, and instead of calling the cops, she'd given her a job. You know anything about engines? No. You willing to learn? Sarah had nodded. Then get inside and take a shower first. You smell like death. Maggie had given her more than a job. She'd given her structure, purpose, a reason to stay alive. And when Sarah turned 18, Maggie had done something unexpected. You want a family? Maggie had asked. Real family, not blood, better than blood. People who will die for you and expect you to do the same. She'd meant the Hells Angels. Maggie was a member, had been for 30 years. And she was offering Sarah a way in. Why me? Sarah had asked. Because you're a fighter. Because you survived things that would break most people. Because you matter. Maggie had smiled. Someone told you that once, didn't they? That you matter. I can see it in how you carry yourself, like you're still trying to live up to it. Sarah, who would become Elena 6 months later when she took her patch, had stared at this woman who somehow saw straight through her. How did you know? Because someone told me the same thing 35 years ago, and I've been paying it forward ever since. Now standing outside Diane's bakery with her phone pressed to her ear and her ex-wife's panicked voice in her ear, Elena felt those two moments colliding. The 11-year-old who'd been saved. The 42-year-old who'd built a life around paying that salvation forward. And Sophia, her daughter, 16 years old and missing. What do you mean she's gone? Elena kept her voice level even though her heart was jackhammering. I mean, she didn't come home last night. Her bed's empty, her phone's off. She left a note saying she needed space and not to look for her. Rachel, what happened? What did you fight about? A pause. We didn't fight. That's the problem. She's been pulling away for months, skipping school, hanging out with kids I don't know. I tried to talk to her about it yesterday and she just... Rachel's voice cracked. She looked at me like I was the enemy, said I didn't understand her, that nobody understood her. Elena's chest tightened. She'd been so focused on the foundation, on the ride, on everything except her own daughter. When was the last time they'd talked, really talked? 3 weeks ago? A month. I'm coming home, Elena said. I'll find her. Elena, you're in Millbrook. I said, I'm coming home. Her voice went hard. President voice. The voice that ended arguments. Send me the note. Send me the names of her friends you know. I'll handle it. She hung up and turned to find Snake watching her with concern. Sophia, missing since last night. Rachel doesn't know where. Brother. Snake never called her that, always Prez or Elena. But in moments like this, when the club became family, the word meant everything. What do you need? I need you to stay here. Coordinate with the others. Start working the council angle. I need to go back to Pittsburgh. We can send someone else to find Sophia. You've been planning this for 8 months? She's my daughter. Elena's voice cracked. I've already failed her enough. I'm not doing it again. She walked back into the bakery. Diane was refilling someone's coffee. Elena caught her eye, motioned her over. I have to go. Family emergency. Concern flooded Diane's face. What's wrong? My daughter, she's missing. I need to find her. Diane set down the coffee pot without hesitation. Then you go. Family first. Always. But the center, the council vote, will still be here when you get back. Diane took Elena's hands. Listen to me. That building, this foundation, all of it matters. But your daughter matters more. You taught me that. Don't forget it. Elena nodded, not trusting her voice. Diane squeezed her hands once hard, then let go. Go find your girl, and Elena, Diane's eyes were fierce. However I can help with the council, I will. You're not fighting this alone. Elena made it to her bike before the tears came. Snake appeared beside her, already on his phone. Razor's meeting you at your place, and I'm calling Tommy's crew in Harrisburg. If Sophia's anywhere in Pennsylvania, we'll find her. Thank you. That's what family does. The ride back to Pittsburgh was the longest 3 hours of Elena's life. She pushed the Harley past 90 past 100, barely seeing the road. Her mind kept circling the same thought. What kind of mother am I? What kind of person builds a foundation to save other people's kids while losing her own? She'd left Rachel when Sophia was 8. The marriage had been dying for years, suffocated by Elena's absences, her club responsibilities, the life Rachel never really understood. The divorce was amicable, joint custody. They tried to make it work. But Elena had thrown herself into the foundation, into helping kids who reminded her of herself. And somewhere along the way, she'd stopped seeing that Sophia needed her too. The note Rachel had texted was short. I need to figure out who I am. Don't look for me. I'm safe. I just need space. Safe. But where with who? Elena pulled up to her house, a renovated warehouse in Lawrenceville, at noon. Razor was already there, 6'2", bald, covered in scars from a life before the club. He'd been clean 7 years and mentored more kids through Second Wind than anyone. Talked to some of Sophia's classmates, Razor said without preamble. She's been hanging with a girl named Chloe Brennan, lives in Bloomfield. Parents are divorced, dad's never around. Address. Razor handed her a piece of paper. Already checked. Nobody's home. Neighbor says Chloe's mom works double shifts at UPMC. Elena studied the address. What else? Sophia's been posting on Instagram. Nothing since yesterday, but the week before lots of stuff about feeling invisible, about nobody seeing the real her. Razor's voice was gentle. Elena, she's hurting. Has been for a while. The guilt hit like a fist. I should have seen it. You were busy saving other kids. Doesn't make you a bad mother, makes you human. Feels the same. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. Is this Elena Hayes? Yes. This is Diane Morris. A pause. I think Sophia's here. Elena's heart stopped. What? She showed up about an hour ago, asked if she could sit in the bakery for a while. She didn't know who I was at first, but when I told her, she started crying. We've been talking. Relief and confusion warred in Elena's chest. Is she okay? She's safe, scared, confused, but safe. Diane's voice was warm. She said she heard about the ride, about what you did for me, and she wanted to understand. Wanted to see where her mother came from. I'm 4 hours away. Can you? I'll keep her here. We'll talk. You drive safe, not fast. She's not going anywhere. Elena made it in 3.5 hours anyway. Walked into Morris Family Bakery at 4 in the afternoon to find her daughter sitting in a corner booth with Diane Morris. They were eating cinnamon rolls. Sophia's eyes were red from crying. Mom. Elena slid into the booth across from her. Wanted to yell, wanted to hug her, wanted to demand why she'd scared everyone. Instead, she just looked at her daughter, really looked, saw the pain and confusion and desperate need to be seen. I'm sorry, Sophia said quietly. I didn't mean to scare you. I heard about this place, about what Mrs. Morris did for you. And I thought maybe if I came here, I'd understand why you care more about Second Wind than you do about me. The words hit like bullets. Elena opened her mouth, closed it. Diane quietly excused herself, giving them space. Sophia, Elena started, voice rough. I have never not for 1 second cared about Second Wind more than you. Then why does it feel like you're always gone, like you're always helping someone else's kid while I'm just... Sophia's voice broke. I'm right here, Mom. I've always been right here. But you don't see me. Elena felt something crack open in her chest. All the excuses she'd told herself, all the ways she justified the absences, the late nights at the foundation, the weekends spent on runs. She'd been so focused on saving kids who reminded her of herself, she'd forgotten to see the one who needed her most. You're right, she said. I haven't seen you. I've been so focused on making sure other kids don't feel invisible that I made my own daughter disappear. Sophia wiped her eyes. Why do you care so much about them, the foster kids? Because I was them. Because I know what it's like to be 11 years old and certain nobody cares if you live or die. Because Mrs. Morris saved my life by telling me I mattered, and I spent 21 years trying to pass that forward. Elena reached across the table. But you matter more, Sophia. You matter most. And I'm sorry I ever made you doubt that. I don't want to compete with them. You don't have to. There's enough of me for both. Elena squeezed her daughter's hand. I know I haven't proven that, but I will. Starting now. Sophia was quiet for a long moment. Mrs. Morris told me about her daughter, Emily. She died in a car accident 28 years ago. She was 11, same age you were when you met her. Elena felt the air leave her lungs. She what? That's why she helped you. You reminded her of Emily, and she's been carrying that ever since. Sophia looked up. She said that's what love is, carrying people even when they're gone, even when it hurts, showing up anyway. Diane appeared with fresh coffee, set it down without a word. Elena looked at her, saw the truth of it in her eyes. Emily, Elena whispered. Diane sat down beside Sophia. She would have been 39 this year, red hair like her father, stubborn like me. She died on her way home from school. Drunk driver ran a red light. Mrs. Morris, I didn't know. I'm so sorry. Don't be. She gave me 11 beautiful years. And when she was gone, I thought I'd never find a reason to keep going. Then you walked through my door, 11 years old, scared and hurt, and so much like her, it broke my heart all over again. Diane's voice was steady. You weren't a replacement. You were a reminder that life keeps giving us chances to love people, to see them, to tell them they matter. She looked at Sophia. Your mother saved herself, but I like to think I gave her a push. And now she's pushing hundreds of other kids toward better lives. That's not taking away from you, sweetheart. That's showing you what love looks like. Messy and imperfect and always, always trying. Sophia was crying again. So was Elena. Diane just sat there solid and present the way she'd been 21 years ago. I want to help, Sophia said finally. With Second Wind, I want to understand what you're doing, why it matters. Elena pulled her daughter close. Then you will. We'll do it together. They stayed in Millbrook that night. Diane insisted, pointing to the apartment above the bakery. It's just storage now, but the beds are good. You all need rest. At midnight, Elena's phone buzzed. Snake! We've got a problem. Rebecca Thornton's son was attacked tonight in Seattle. Someone broke into his apartment and beat him unconscious. Hospital says he'll recover, but Thornton's pulling her support. She's calling an emergency council session for Thursday. She's voting no. Elena closed her eyes. How bad? She thinks we're behind it. Thinks we're using her son to force her vote. That's insane. We would never. I know. You know. She doesn't. And unless we can prove otherwise, we're done. Elena looked over at Sophia asleep in the next room, looked at the photograph of the Diane Morris Second Wind Center still on the table. Find out who really did it, she said. This smells like Harrison. They want us desperate, want us looking like the criminals they're claiming we are. Already on it, but Elena Monday's vote is in 4 days. We're running out of time. After he hung up, Elena sat in the dark feeling the weight of it all. The foundation, the council, Sophia, the 200 kids counting on her. Diane appeared in the doorway wrapped in a robe. Can't sleep. Too much happening. Diane sat beside her, and when Emily died, I thought my life was over. Thought I'd never feel anything but grief. But you know what I learned? Elena shook her head. That grief and love are the same thing. Both mean you cared enough to be broken by losing someone. Both mean you showed up fully even knowing it could hurt. Diane took her hand. You're grieving right now. Grieving the mother you think you should have been. Grieving the foundation you might lose. But that grief means you loved hard enough to care about getting it right. What if I can't? What if I lose everything? Then you start over. Build something new. But you don't quit. That's not who you are. That's not who I saw 21 years ago, and it's not who's sitting here now. Elena leaned against her. How are you so wise? 73 years of practice. Now get some sleep. Tomorrow we fight for that center, and we win. But even as Diane said it, Elena's phone lit up with a new message. Unknown number. A video file. She opened it and felt the world drop away. The video showed a teenage boy tied to a chair, face bruised, eyes terrified, and behind him a masked figure. Elena Hayes. The voice was distorted. You cost some very powerful people a lot of money. Time to pay it back. This kid says he was coming to your center. David Morgan, 17, just out of foster care next month. Won't make it to your center now unless you withdraw your permits by Thursday and sell the building to Harrison Development for $1. You've got 3 days. After that, we start sending pieces. The video ended. Elena stared at the screen, hands shaking. David Morgan, she knew that name. He'd reached out 2 weeks ago through the Second Wind website, said he was aging out soon and scared. She'd promised him they'd be there when he needed them. Now he was tied to a chair because of her. Diane was reading over her shoulder. Oh, God. I need to call the police. If you do, they'll kill him. Elena knew she was right. Knew Harrison Development had the money and connections to make this disappear. Knew that one 17-year-old foster kid wouldn't make the news until pieces of him started showing up. She dialed Snake instead. Get everyone to Pittsburgh, every brother within 500 miles. Someone took David Morgan. and we're getting him back. Elena, if we go to war, they already declared war. They just don't know who they're fighting yet. She ended the call and looked at Diane, at Sophia sleeping in the next room, at the photograph of the center that might never open. Then she looked at the video again, at David's terrified face. You matter, she whispered to the screen. I'm coming for you. Because that's what second wind meant. That's what those 3 words from 21 years ago had taught her. Everyone matters, especially the ones the world's given up on, especially the ones who are scared and alone and certain nobody's coming. Elena Hayes was coming, and she was bringing 97 Hell's Angels with her. The war for second wind had begun. Dawn broke gray and cold over Pittsburgh. Elena stood in the Second Wind Center's empty common room, staring at the violation notices taped to every door. Electrical hazards, plumbing deficiencies, structural concerns, all of them fabricated, all of them designed to shut them down before they even opened. Snake appeared beside her with coffee. Fire Marshal's brother-in-law works for Harrison Development. Coincidence. There are no coincidences. Elena took the coffee, let the heat burn her hands. Focus on something physical, something real, not the video of David playing on loop in her mind. Her phone had been ringing since 4 in the morning. Razor calling from Baltimore. Tommy from Harrisburg. Chains from Cleveland. 53 Hells Angels converging on Pittsburgh because their president had asked. Because one of theirs was in trouble. Not one of theirs yet, Elena corrected herself. David wasn't a member, wasn't even enrolled in the program. He was just a kid who'd reached out, a kid who'd believed the promise on their website, everyone matters. And now he was paying the price for her ambition. We've got teams tracking the video's digital signature, Snake said. Burner phone purchased in Harrisburg 3 days ago. Credit card flagged for fraud last year. Dead end. What about Harrison's employees? Talked to 7, all scared of losing their jobs. None of them know anything about a kidnapping. He paused. Either it's locked down tight or it's not coming from Harrison. Elena's jaw clenched. It's coming from Harrison. Who else wants us gone this badly? Her phone buzzed, a number she didn't recognize. She answered. Ms. Hayes, this is Richard Harrison. Elena's hand tightened on the phone. You've got some nerve calling me. I need to meet with you. Today, it's about David Morgan. If you hurt that kid, I didn't touch him. Harrison's voice was tight, stressed. But I know who did, and it's not what you think. Elena's instinct said, hang up. Her instinct said this was a trap. But David's face flashed in her mind, 17 years old and terrified. Where? Neutral ground. Enrico's Coffee on Penn Avenue, 1 hour. Come alone. I don't do alone. Then bring one person. But Ms. Hayes, if you want that kid alive, you'll listen to what I have to say. He hung up. Snake was already shaking his head. Trap. Probably. And you're going anyway. He said he knows who took David. He could be lying. Elena pulled on her vest. Then I'll know in an hour. You're coming with me. They took Snake's truck instead of the bikes. Less conspicuous. Enrico's was a small coffee shop in Lawrenceville, the kind of place where tech workers typed on MacBooks and pretended to write novels. Not the kind of place where Hell's Angels and corporate CEOs usually met. Richard Harrison sat in the back corner, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Mid-50s, expensive suit, wrinkled tie loosened. When Elena and Snake slid into the booth across from him, he flinched. Thank you for coming. Talk. Elena's voice was flat. You've got 5 minutes. Harrison pulled out his phone, opened a photo. This is Victor Reese. He was my head of security until I fired him 3 months ago for using excessive force on protesters at one of our development sites. The photo showed a man in his 40s, military build, cold eyes. Since then, he's been making threats, saying I owed him, saying he'd make me regret cutting him loose. I didn't take him seriously. Harrison's hand shook slightly. I should have. You're saying your former employee kidnapped David to get back at you. I'm saying he's using your situation to hurt me and extort you at the same time. Harrison set down his phone. I leaked Rebecca Thornton's son's arrest record. I'm not proud of it, but I did it. But the attack on her son in Seattle, that was Reese, and I can prove it. He pulled out another phone, scrolled through messages. This is from Reese's cousin. She works in my accounting department. She texted him 2 hours after Daniel Thornton was attacked, "Is the package secure?" He responded, "Phase 1 complete. Harrison's going down." Elena studied the messages. They could be faked, but Harrison's fear looked genuine. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because this stopped being about real estate the moment a kid got kidnapped." Harrison met her eyes. "I wanted your building. I was willing to play dirty to get it. But I'm not a kidnapper, and I'm not going to let Reese use my company's name to hurt people." "Where is he?" "I don't know, but his cousin might. She called in sick this morning, family emergency." He slid a piece of paper across the table. "An address in Bloomfield. That's where she lives." Snake grabbed the paper before Elena could. "This could be a setup. Send us their cops waiting." "It's not." Harrison's voice was steady now. "I'm giving you this because when this is over, when David's safe and Reese is in custody, I want to talk. About the building, about the foundation, about doing this right instead of destroying each other." Elena stood. "We'll find David. After that, we'll see." They left Harrison sitting alone with his coffee. In the truck, Snake said, "You believe him." "I believe he's scared. Whether that makes him honest, I don't know. But it's the only lead we have." They picked up Razor and three others before heading to the cousin's apartment. It was a rundown complex off Liberty Avenue. Peeling paint, broken stairwell lights, the kind of place people lived when they were one paycheck from homeless. Apartment 3C. Elena knocked. No answer. Knocked again. "I know you're in there. We just want to talk." A crash from inside, then silence. Snake didn't wait. One kick and the door splintered open. They poured inside. The woman was at the window trying to climb out onto the fire escape. Razor grabbed her before she made it. Mid-30s, terrified makeup smeared from crying. "Don't hurt me, please. I didn't know he was going to hurt anyone." Elena held up her hands, kept her voice calm. "We're not here to hurt you. We just need to find your cousin Victor. He has a 17-year-old kid. We want to bring him home." "I don't know where Victor is." Snake grabbed her phone, the one she dropped. "You've got encrypted messages. Contacts labeled client and boss." "Who are they?" The woman's face crumpled. "If I tell you, they'll kill me." "If you don't tell us you're an accessory to kidnapping, assault, and extortion," Elena said, "you'll spend the next 20 years in prison. Is that worth protecting them?" The woman sat down hard. "Thomas Harrison. Victor's been working for him for 6 months. Private security, off the books. What was the job? To make you look like criminals. To prove the Hells Angels running a foundation was a front for violence." Her voice shook. "Thomas wanted his brother's company. You were just collateral damage." "What about Daniel Thornton? Did Victor attack him?" "No. Thomas hired someone else for that. Victor doesn't even know about it. He thinks he's working alone." Elena felt rage and relief in equal measure. "You're going to tell this to the police, all of it, and you're going to testify." "They'll kill me." "We'll protect you," Snake said. "Full club protection. But you do this now or we let Thomas Harrison's lawyers bury you." She nodded, tears streaming. "Where's David?" Elena's voice went hard. "Old warehouse on Cemetery Road. The one Harrison was going to demolish for the condos." The woman was sobbing now. "Please, he's my cousin. He's not a bad person. He kidnapped a child." Elena cut her off. "That makes him a bad person. Now stay here. If you run, if you warn him, I will find you." They were back in the truck before the woman could respond. Cemetery Road was industrial wasteland on the edge of the city. Abandoned factories and empty lots that used to be steel mills. The warehouse sat isolated, surrounded by chain-link fence and forgotten ambition. Elena counted 3 vehicles outside. Reese wasn't alone. "We go in quiet," she said. "Find David first. Fight second." They split up. Snake and Razor took the back entrance. Elena and the others went through a broken window on the east side. Inside was darkness and rust and the smell of decay. Voices echoed from deeper in. Elena followed them, every sense on high alert. They found David in what used to be an office, still tied to the chair, eyes closed, blood crusted on his face. But his chest moved. alive. Reese stood 10 feet away on his phone. Two other men with him, both armed. Elena didn't hesitate. She rushed forward, hitting Reese like a freight train. They went down hard, her fist connecting with his jaw once, twice. He tried to throw her off, but she was fury and momentum and 21 years of survival skills. The goons moved, but Snake was there, Razor was there, fists flying, bodies crashing. The fight was brutal and short. These weren't street fighters. They were hired muscle who'd never faced people who fought like their lives depended on it. 2 minutes and it was over. Reese and his crew on the ground, bleeding, groaning. Elena cut David loose. "I've got you. You're safe." The kid's eyes fluttered open. "Ms. Hayes." "Yeah, I'm here. Can you walk?" "I think so." Snake called 911, reported shots fired, gave the address. The cops would find Reese exactly where he deserved to be. They got David out, loaded him into the truck. He was quiet, shaking, probably in shock. Elena sat beside him, kept pressure on a cut above his eye. "Why'd you come for me?" he asked quietly. "You don't even know me." "Because you matter." Elena's voice was steady. "I told you that when you contacted us. I meant it. People who matter don't get left behind." David wiped his eyes. "People say a lot of things they don't mean." "Yeah, they do. But not about this. Not to me." She looked at him. 21 years ago, someone saved my life when they had no reason to. I've been paying that forward ever since. You're part of that chain now, and when you're older, when you've got your life together, you'll do the same for someone else. What if I can't? What if I'm not strong enough? You are. You survived this. You're still here. That's strength. The hospital visit took 4 hours. Concussion, cracked rib, various contusions. They wanted to keep David overnight for observation. Elena sat with him until he fell asleep, then stepped into the hallway to find Detective Sarah Kim waiting. "Ms. Hayes, we need to talk." Elena's stomach dropped. Kim was homicide, which meant this had escalated beyond kidnapping. "About what?" "Victor Reese is claiming you and your associates tortured him before calling the police. Says he's got injuries consistent with a sustained beating. His lawyer's pushing for assault charges. He kidnapped a kid. We rescued that kid. He fought back. We defended ourselves." Kim pulled out a notepad. "For how long?" "Long enough to make sure David was safe. Ms. Hayes Reese has a broken jaw, 3 cracked ribs, and a concussion. That's more than self-defense. That's retaliation." Elena felt the world shifting. "You're saying we should have let him keep the kid." "I'm saying the DA's office is looking at this. If they decide to press charges, you could be looking at aggravated assault, 3 to 5 years. 3 days from opening, 3 days from saving 200 kids, and they were trying to put her in prison. I did what I had to do to save a child. That's noble, but nobility doesn't keep you out of prison." Kim's voice softened. "Look, I've got a daughter. If someone took her, I'd do what you did. Probably worse. But I'm also a cop, and I'm telling you this is serious. Get a lawyer, a good one, and be prepared for this to get ugly." After Kim left, Elena stood in the hospital hallway, feeling everything crumbling. The foundation, the council vote, now criminal charges. Her phone buzzed. "Sophia." "Mom, are you okay? I saw the news." Elena hadn't realized it had made the news already. Of course it had. Hell's Angels rescue kidnapped teen. Allegations of brutality. It was exactly the kind of story that would destroy them. "I'm fine, baby. Are you coming back to Millbrook?" Mrs. Morris is worried. Elena looked through the window at David sleeping, at the kids she'd saved and who might cost her everything. "Not yet. I need to handle some things here." "Mom, I want to help." "You are helping just by being there, just by being you." After she hung up, Snake appeared. His face was grim. "It gets worse." "How could it possibly get worse?" "Thornton just called an emergency council session for tomorrow. She's moving to rescind Monday's vote before it even happens. If she succeeds, we don't even get to fight. We're done." Elena leaned against the wall, feeling the weight of it all. "She thinks we attacked her son." "I know, and unless we can prove we didn't, she's voting us into oblivion." "Can we prove it?" "Reese is claiming he acted alone. His lawyer's already spinning it as a rogue employee, nothing to do with Harrison." Snake's voice was tired. Even if we could prove Harrison development was involved, that doesn't clear us of the assault charges. Elena's phone buzzed again. This time a number she recognized. Diane. Elena, I'm watching the news. What's happening? Everything's falling apart. Elena's voice cracked. We saved David, but now they're saying we brutalized his kidnapper. Thornton's calling an emergency vote. Harrison's covering his tracks, and I'm probably going to prison. Silence on the other end. Then Diane said, do you remember what I told you last night about grief and love being the same thing? Yes? This is the grief part, the part where it hurts, where you wonder if caring it was worth it. Diane's voice was steady, but the answer is yes, always yes. Because that boy is alive because you cared enough to risk everything, and that matters more than any building or any vote. But if I go to prison, then someone else runs the foundation. But those kids still get saved. The work still gets done because you started something bigger than yourself. Diane paused. Emily used to tell me, Mom, you can't control what happens. You can only control what you do about it. She was 11, wisest person I ever knew. Elena wiped her eyes. I don't know what to do. You do what you've always done. You show up, you fight, and you trust that the people who matter will stand with you. After they hung up, Elena walked back into David's room. The kid was awake, staring at the ceiling. I heard, he said quietly, about the charges, about the council. This is my fault. No, it's not. If I hadn't reached out to your foundation, then you'd be aging out next month with nowhere to go and probably dead by Christmas. Elena sat down beside him. David, you didn't ask to be kidnapped. You didn't ask for any of this. All you did was reach out for help. And we're always going to answer that call, no matter what it costs. Even prison. David was quiet for a long time. Nobody's ever fought for me before. Ever. Get used to it. Because when you get out of here, you're coming to Second Wind. You're going to be our first official resident. And you're going to help us build something that makes sure no other kid has to feel as alone as you've felt. What if there is no Second Wind? What if the council shuts you down? Elena smiled, though it hurt. Then we build something else, somewhere else. But we don't quit. That's the promise. She stayed with him until he fell asleep again, then went to find Snake in the waiting room. Her phone was buzzing with messages. Media requests, lawyers offering help, and one from an unknown number. She opened it and froze. It was a photo. Rebecca Thornton's son, Daniel, in Seattle hospital bed, face bruised. And a message, this is just the beginning. Drop the permits or your daughter's next. Elena's blood went cold. Sophia. They were threatening Sophia. She called Rachel immediately. Where's Sophia? Still in Millbrook with Mrs. Morris. Why, what's wrong? Get her somewhere safe, now. Hotel fake names don't tell anyone where. Elena, you're scaring me. Good. Be scared. These people already kidnapped one kid. I'm not letting them take another. She ended the call and showed Snake the message. His face went hard. I'll get protection on them. Razor's already on his way to Millbrook. But Elena's mind was racing. The message said, or your daughter's next. Not will hurt her. Next. Like there was a pattern. She called Detective Kim. I need to know something. Daniel Thornton's attack in Seattle. What were his injuries? Kim hesitated. That's an active investigation. Detective, someone just threatened my daughter. I need to know if we're dealing with the same people. A pause, then broken jaw, 3 cracked ribs, concussion. The same injuries as Reese. Exactly the same. Victor Reese didn't attack Daniel Thornton, Elena said slowly. Someone wanted us to think he did. Someone who knew we'd find David, who knew we'd hurt Reese, who knew Reese would have the same injuries as Thornton. Ms. Hayes, what are you saying? I'm saying we were set up. All of it. The kidnapping, the rescue, the assault. Someone wanted us to look like violent criminals, and we walked right into it. After she hung up, Snake was staring at her. If Reese didn't attack Thornton, who did? Elena pulled up the messages on her phone. The threat about Sophia, the video of David, the pattern of injuries. It all pointed to one conclusion. Someone who wants to destroy Second Wind and doesn't care who gets hurt in the process. Her phone rang. Richard Harrison. I just got a very interesting call from my board of directors, he said without preamble. They're forcing a vote to remove me as CEO, claiming I've brought scandal and criminal liability to the company. When? Friday morning, same day as the council vote on your permits. He paused. Ms. Hayes, I think we're being played by the same person. Your brother, Elena, said the pieces falling into place. Thomas Harrison. He's on your board, isn't he? A long silence. How did you know? Because this kind of coordinated attack takes resources and inside knowledge. Reese worked for your company. The board vote and council vote are synchronized. Someone wants to destroy both of us and take everything we've built. My brother's been trying to push me out for years, claims I've gone soft, that I care more about legacy than profit. Harrison's voice was tight. If I'm removed, he becomes CEO. And the first thing he'll do is sue to force the sale of your building. Can you stop him? Not alone, but if you can prove he's behind the kidnapping, behind the attacks, we can bury him. Elena thought fast. Victor Reese's cousin. She might know more than she told us. If Thomas Harrison hired Reese, there's got to be a paper trail. I'll have my lawyers pull every financial record Reese touched in the last 6 months. Harrison paused. Ms. Hayes, when this is over. We'll talk, Elena said, but first we save our foundations. She hung up and turned to Snake. Get everyone to the warehouse. We're going back to talk to Reese's cousin. And this time she's telling us everything. They found Angela Reese still in her apartment packing. She screamed when they burst in. Please, I told you everything. You told us what you thought we wanted to hear, Elena said. Now you're going to tell us the truth. Who paid Victor to kidnap David Morgan? I don't know. Snake grabbed her phone, started scrolling. You've got encrypted messages. Contacts labeled client and boss. Who are they? Angela's face crumpled. If I tell you, they'll kill me. If you don't tell us you're an accessory to kidnapping, assault, and extortion, Elena said, you'll spend the next 20 years in prison. Is that worth protecting them? Angela sat down hard. Thomas Harrison. Victor's been working for him for 6 months. Private security, off the books. What was the job? To make you look like criminals. To prove the Hells Angels running a foundation was a front for violence. Angela's voice shook. Thomas wanted his brother's company. You were just collateral damage. What about Daniel Thornton? Did Victor attack him? No, Thomas hired someone else for that. Victor doesn't even know about it. He thinks he's working alone. Elena felt rage and relief in equal measure. You're going to tell this to the police. All of it. And you're going to testify. They'll kill me. We'll protect you, Snake said. Full club protection. But you do this now or we let Thomas Harrison's lawyers bury you. Angela nodded, tears streaming. 2 hours later, Detective Kim had Angela's full statement. Forensic accountants were pulling Thomas Harrison's financial records, and a warrant was being drawn up for his arrest. But the council vote was still tomorrow, and Thornton still thought they were monsters. Elena called Diane. I need you to do something for me. Something big. Anything. I need you to talk to Rebecca Thornton, woman to woman. Tell her about Emily, about what it's like to lose a child and how that makes you see the world differently. Tell her that we didn't hurt her son and ask her to give us one more chance. Diane was quiet. That's a lot to ask. I know, but you're the only person she might listen to. The only person who understands what she's going through. I'll try. But Elena, even if I convince her the vote's tomorrow, Peters is still in Harrison's pocket. You need both of them. Let me worry about Peters. You focus on Thornton. After they hung up, Elena sat in the Second Wind Center's empty common room, staring at the Phoenix mural Jennifer Peters had painted weeks ago during a volunteer session. Because everyone matters. Her phone buzzed. Sophia. Mom, Mrs. Morris told me what you're doing about trying to save the center. Yeah, I want to help. I want to testify at the council meeting tomorrow. Elena's heart stopped. Sophia, no, it's too dangerous. Mom, you've spent my whole life showing up for other people's kids. Let me show up for you. Sophia's voice was strong, certain. Let me tell them what kind of person you are, what kind of mother you are. Baby, the people we're fighting, they don't play fair. Neither do we, Sophia laughed. I learned that from you. Now let me help. Elena closed her eyes, thought about David tied to a chair, about Thornton's son in a hospital bed, about all the ways this could go wrong. But she also thought about Diane telling her that love meant showing up even when it hurt, about Sophia needing to be seen, about the phoenix rising from flames. Okay, she said, you can testify, but you stay close to Razor the whole time. And if anything feels wrong, you leave. Deal. That night, Elena barely slept. Tomorrow would decide everything. The council vote, the foundation's future, whether Thomas Harrison would destroy them all or whether they'd survive to fight another day. At 2 in the morning, her phone rang. Diane. I talked to Rebecca for 3 hours, told her about Emily, about you, about what it means to choose mercy over vengeance. What did she say? She's coming to the vote tomorrow, and she's bringing Daniel. He's flying in from Seattle. Diane's voice was warm. She's not promising anything, but she's willing to listen. It was more than Elena had hoped for. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We haven't won, but we're still fighting. That's what matters. Elena hung up and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow, everything would change. Either they'd save Second Wind and prove that kindness could win, or they'd lose everything and prove that Thomas Harrison was right, that people like them didn't deserve second chances. But win or lose, Elena knew one thing for certain. She'd showed up, she'd fought, and she'd made sure David Morgan knew he mattered. Everything else was just details. Thursday morning arrived with the weight of inevitability. Elena stood outside City Hall at 8 in the morning, watching people file in for the emergency council session. Protesters with signs that read, "No gang centers," and "Keep our streets safe." Supporters wearing Second Wind t-shirts. Media trucks lining the street like vultures waiting for the kill. Her phone buzzed. Snake already inside. Packed house, standing room only. Thomas Harrison just walked in with 6 lawyers. Elena's jaw clenched. Of course he was here, watching his plan come together. Where's Sophia? With Razor, 3rd row, safe. Elena took a breath and walked inside. The council chambers were chaos. Every seat filled people spilling into the aisles. She spotted Diane near the front, sitting beside a woman Elena recognized from news photos. Rebecca Thornton, and beside her a young man with a healing black eye, Daniel Thornton. They'd come. Councilman Richard Peters called the meeting to order. He looked tired, defeated. Elena wondered how much Thomas Harrison had paid him to destroy Second Wind. We're here for an emergency session regarding the Second Wind Foundation's permits, Peters began. Before we hear a public comment, I need to address something that came to my attention last night. He pulled out a folder. I've received evidence that suggests serious criminal activity related to this vote. Evidence that changes everything we thought we knew about the situation. Thomas Harrison went pale. These are financial records showing payments from Harrison Development to Victor Reese, the man arrested for kidnapping David Morgan. Payments labeled security consultation, but routed through shell companies. Peters looked directly at Thomas. Mr. Harrison, would you care to explain why your company was paying the man who kidnapped a 17-year-old to extort Ms. Hayes? The room exploded, reporters shouting questions. Thomas Harrison on his feet, lawyers surrounding him. Diane gripping Rebecca Thornton's hand. Those records are privileged, one of Thomas's lawyers started. These records were obtained through a warrant executed this morning. Peters interrupted. Mr. Harrison, you are looking at charges of conspiracy to kidnap, extortion, and fraud. I suggest you secure legal representation. 2 police officers moved toward Thomas. He backed away, pointing at Elena. This is insane. She's the criminal. She runs a gang. She nearly beat Reese to death. Reese was holding a child hostage, Peter said coldly. And according to Detective Kim's report, Ms. Hayes acted to rescue that child. The DA has declined to prosecute. Elena felt the air rush back into her lungs. No charges. They weren't pressing charges. Thomas was still shouting as the officers led him away. His lawyers followed already on their phones. The room buzzed with shock and speculation. Peters waited for silence before continuing. Now, given these revelations, I think we need to reconsider this vote entirely. But first, public comment is open. Diane stood. Her voice when she spoke was steady and clear. My name is Diane Morris. 21 years ago, a child walked into my bakery. She was 11 years old, beaten and terrified, and certain nobody cared if she lived or died. I gave her food. I told her she mattered, and then I watched her disappear. She looked at Elena. That child became Elena Hayes. She survived 6 years on the streets, built a business, built a foundation that's helped over 200 kids who remind her of herself. This center isn't about motorcycles or clubs or whatever you're afraid of. It's about seeing kids when everyone else has given up on them. It's about telling them they matter. Diane sat down. A woman in her 30s stood next. My name is Sarah Chen. 3 years ago, I aged out of foster care with a drug conviction and no job prospects. Second Wind gave me a chance. Helped me get clean. Helped me find work. I'm a nurse now. I have an apartment, a life because someone believed I was worth saving. One by one they spoke. Kids Elena had helped. Parents whose children had found hope through the foundation. Employers who'd hired Second Wind graduates and found them to be their best workers. Then Sophia stood up. Elena's heart stopped. Her daughter, 16 years old, walking to the microphone with Razor, a protective shadow behind her. My name is Sophia Hayes. I'm Elena's daughter. The room went quiet. I spent most of my life angry at my mom, angry that she was always gone, always helping other people's kids. I thought she didn't care about me, that I wasn't important enough. Sophia's voice shook but held. Last week I ran away. I was so angry and hurt that I just left. And you know who found me, Mrs. Morris? She sat with me for hours, told me about her daughter Emily who died, told me about how my mom was 11 years old and broken when they met. And she helped me understand something. She looked at Elena. My mom doesn't help those kids instead of loving me. She helps them because loving me taught her how important it is to show up for people, to tell them they matter, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Tears streamed down Sophia's face. You want to know what kind of person runs Second Wind? The kind who'll risk everything to save a kid she's never met. The kind who taught me that love isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up anyway. She sat down. Elena wanted to run to her, hold her, but the session was still in progress. Then someone else stood. A young woman Elena didn't recognize at first. Then she saw the resemblance. Jennifer Peters, Councilman Peters' daughter. My name is Jennifer Peters, and I need to tell you something my father doesn't know. Peters' face went white. 4 years ago, I aged out of foster care. I told my dad I was living with my aunt, but I lied. I was 18 and homeless and terrified. I lived in shelters, slept in my car, went hungry more times than I can count. Her voice broke. I got lucky, found help, but most kids don't. Most kids like I was end up dead or in prison or worse. And you want to vote against giving them a place to go. She looked at her father. Dad, I'm sorry I lied. I was ashamed, scared you'd be disappointed. But I need you to know that these kids deserve what I got. A chance, hope, someone who believes they matter. Peter stood slowly. His face was working through emotions Elena couldn't name. Grief, shame, love. Jennifer, his voice cracked. I didn't know. I should have. You know now. Jennifer's voice was firm. So what are you going to do about it? The silence was absolute. Then Rebecca Thornton stood. I need to say something. My son Daniel was attacked in Seattle. I thought it was connected to this foundation. Thought they were using violence to intimidate me into voting yes. She gestured to Daniel beside her. But last night Diane Morris sat with me for 3 hours, told me about losing her daughter, about how that grief taught her to see people who are hurting, about how Elena Hayes has spent 21 years paying forward one act of kindness. Thornton's voice steadied. And this morning I learned that the man who attacked my son was hired by Thomas Harrison. Not to help this foundation, but to destroy it. To make me hate them so much that I'd vote without thinking. She looked at Elena. I spent 20 years prosecuting criminals. I know what they look like. And Ms. Hayes, whatever you were, you're not that anymore. You're a woman trying to save lives. She turned to the council. My vote is yes. The room erupted in applause. Elena felt tears streaming down her face. Diane was crying. Sophia was smiling. Peter stood. I need to say something to my daughter first. He walked to Jennifer, pulled her into a hug. I'm sorry, I should have been there. I will be from now on. Then he faced the council. I've spent this entire debate worried about property values and political optics. I forgot what actually matters. The people, the kids who need help. His voice rang out clear. I move that we approve Second Wind Foundation's permits immediately and offer any city resources they need to succeed. Second, Thornton said. All in favor, 7 hands went up. Only one opposed a councilman who'd been in Thomas Harrison's pocket. Motion carries. The room exploded. Elena couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Snake grabbed her shoulder, grinning. Diane was on her feet, clapping. Sophia pushed through the crowd to throw her arms around Elena. We won, Mom. We actually won. Elena held her daughter, held her close, and let herself feel what she'd been too scared to believe in. Hope. The celebration spilled out of City Hall onto the street. Media clamoring for interviews. Supporters chanting. Elena stood in the center of it, still processing that it was real. Richard Harrison appeared at her elbow. He looked 10 years older than he had that morning. My brother's going to prison for a long time. Good. I'm getting removed as CEO tomorrow. The board vote's still happening. They're right that I brought scandal. He met her eyes. But I wanted to tell you before the news breaks, I'm donating $500,000 to Second Wind, and I'm offering my personal support however you need it. Elena studied him. Why? Because I've spent my entire life building an empire on crushing competition, and sitting in that chamber watching my brother get arrested, watching those kids testify, I realized something. His voice cracked. My legacy is what I build. Right now, it's threatening teenagers and destroying community centers. I want to change that. Change doesn't happen overnight. I know, but I have to start somewhere. He held out his hand. Teach me. Show me how you went from where you were to where you are. How you earned the kind of loyalty that makes people ride across the country for you. Elena shook his hand. It's not easy. It means admitting you're wrong, putting others first, sometimes losing money to do the right thing. I can handle that. We'll see. Over the next few hours, Elena gave interview after interview, told David's story, told her own story, talked about what Second Wind meant and why it mattered. At 6 in the evening, she finally escaped to find Diane sitting on a bench outside City Hall, looking exhausted but content. We did it, Elena said, sitting beside her. You did it? I just showed up. You always show up. That's your superpower. Elena took her hand. Mrs. Morris, I need to tell you something. About Maggie Stone. Diane's eyes went wide. Maggie, I haven't heard that name in years. She's the one who brought me into the Hells Angels, gave me a job when I was 17, saved my life in a different way than you did. Elena paused. Last night she called me, told me something I didn't know. What? That you asked her to watch out for me. 21 years ago, when I ran from Millbrook, you contacted her, asked her to find me and keep me safe. You've been protecting me this whole time. Diane's eyes filled with tears. I couldn't let you disappear. Not after Emily. I couldn't lose another child. You didn't lose me. You saved me twice, and then you kept saving me every day since. Elena's voice broke. Why didn't you tell me? Because it wasn't about me getting credit. It was about making sure you survived, that you had a chance to become who you were meant to be. Diane squeezed her hand. And look at you now, saving hundreds of others. That's what love looks like. They sat in silence watching the sun set over Pittsburgh. Two women who'd found each other across an impossible divide and built something beautiful. Elena's phone buzzed. David discharged from the hospital. Can I come to the center opening next week? She typed back immediately. You're not coming to the opening. You're living there. You're our first official resident. 3 dots. Then really. Welcome to Second Wind, David. Welcome home. The following Tuesday was the center's grand opening. By noon, the crowd was overflowing. 300 people, maybe more. Media trucks, local politicians, donors, families of kids in the program, and 97 Hells Angels standing in formation outside the building like an honor guard. Elena stood at the entrance with Diane, Sophia, Snake, and David. She prepared a speech, worked on it for days. But standing there looking at all those faces, the prepared words felt wrong. 21 years ago, she started her voice carrying across the crowd. I was 11 years old with nothing. No home, no family, no hope. I walked into a bakery in Millbrook, and a woman I'd never met gave me food. But more than that, she gave me 3 words that saved my life. She found Diane in the crowd. She told me I mattered, and I've spent every day since trying to live up to that. She gestured to the building behind her. This center exists because of those 3 words. Because one person chose kindness when she had every reason not to. Because she saw a kid everyone else had given up on and decided I was worth saving. Her voice grew stronger. There are thousands of kids in this city who need someone to see them, who need someone to tell them they matter. This center is our promise to them. We see you, we believe in you, and we will never give up on you. She looked at David, at Sophia, at all the kids who'd come. You matter, every single one of you. Don't ever forget that. She cut the ribbon. The doors opened, and the Diane Morris Second Wind Center officially began. The first hour was chaos. Tours, introductions, kids exploring their new home with wonder in their eyes. Elena watched it all, heart full to bursting. A girl maybe 15 stood in the doorway looking like she might bolt. Elena approached slowly. I'm Elena. Welcome. Is it true you used to be like us, homeless and stuff? Yeah, it's true. And you really made it out. I really did. You can too. The girl looked around the center, at the clean rooms, the stocked kitchen, the computers, the people who looked at her like she mattered. I don't know if I believe you. That's okay. You don't have to believe me today. Just come back tomorrow. Keep coming back until you do. Elena held out her hand. Deal. The girl hesitated, then shook. Deal. I'm Kayla. Nice to meet you, Kayla. There's fresh food in the kitchen. Help yourself. Elena watched her go inside, still cautious but less afraid. Another kid saved. Another life changed. By evening, most people had left. Just the core group remained. Diane Snake, Sophia, Rachel Peters, and Jennifer Thornton, and Daniel Harrison, and about 20 Hells Angels. They sat in the common room, exhausted but content. Harrison looked around at the group. I don't belong here, among people who actually understand sacrifice. But I want to. I want to learn. Then keep showing up, Elena said. That's all any of us do. Show up. Do the work. Try to be better than we were yesterday. Peters raised his coffee cup. To Second Wind, may it change as many lives as the people who built it. They drank. Later, after everyone had gone, Elena found Diane in the kitchen cleaning up. You don't have to do that. Old habits, Diane smiled. Besides, I'll be doing it a lot more soon. Can't run a center without keeping it clean. You're really doing this, taking the job. Are you kidding? This is what I was meant for. Seeing kids, telling them they matter, making sure they know someone cares. Diane's eyes sparkled. Besides, someone needs to make sure you don't work yourself to death. Elena hugged her. Thank you for everything, for saving me, for never giving up, for showing me what love looks like. You saved yourself, baby. I just reminded you that you were worth saving. We saved each other, Elena corrected, and now we're going to save hundreds more. That night, Elena's phone rang, a woman's voice tentative. Is this Elena Hayes? Yes, my name is Linda Martinez. I'm a social worker in Baltimore. I have a 16-year-old boy who just got released from juvenile detention. No family, nowhere to go. I heard about your center on the news. Bring him tomorrow, Elena said without hesitation. We'll figure it out. Just like that. Just like that. What's his name? Anthony. He's had a rough go. Anger issues, trust problems, history of violence. Elena smiled. Sounds like someone I used to know. We'll take care of him. After she hung up, she stood in the center's main hall looking at the Phoenix mural. Because everyone matters. Behind her footsteps, Sophia appeared with Diane. Couldn't sleep? Diane asked. Too wired. Too grateful. Elena gestured around the space. This almost didn't happen. But it did happen, Sophia said, because you fought for it, because people chose to help instead of hurt. Diane sat down at one of the tables. You know what the best part is? This is just the beginning. I got calls today from people in Chicago, Atlanta, Seattle, all asking how to start their own second win chapters. Elena felt something break open in her chest. Really? Really? What we built here, it's spreading. The story, your story, our story, it's showing people that change is possible. That kindness wins. Sophia pulled out her phone. Look at this. It was a news article. Second Wind Movement, how one woman's gratitude sparked a national revolution in foster care. Elena read it stunned. Pictures of the center, quotes from kids they'd helped, a sidebar about other cities planning similar programs. We're just one building, she said. We're a movement, Diane corrected. You started it 21 years ago when you refused to give up, when you decided those 3 words I gave you mattered enough to build a life around. You matter, Elena whispered. Everyone matters, Diane said firmly. That's the truth you proved. And now thousands of people are going to prove it too. They sat together in the quiet center watching the phoenix glow on the wall. Somewhere in Pittsburgh, a kid was making the decision to walk through those doors tomorrow, to take a chance on the idea that maybe they mattered, that maybe someone would see them, believe in them, fight for them. And they would, because that's what Elena had built. Not just a center, but a promise. A promise that every kid who walked through those doors would hear the same 3 words that had saved her. You matter. Everything else, the programs, the counseling, the job training, the housing, all flowed from those 2 words. Because once a kid believed they mattered, they could survive anything, build anything, become anything. The next morning, Elena woke to her phone buzzing with messages. Christina, a girl who'd texted during the opening, I'm coming today. I'm scared, but I'm coming. Anthony, social worker. We'll be there at noon. Kayla. Can I bring my friend? She needs help too. And one from a number she didn't recognize. My name is Marcus. I'm aging out next month in Detroit. Can Second Wind help kids outside Pittsburgh? Elena typed back, we're working on it. In the meantime, let's talk, because you matter. 6 months passed like a dream. Second Wind expanded to 4 locations. Pittsburgh, Chicago, Atlanta, Seattle. Over 300 kids helped. A waiting list of 2,000 more. David was in community college studying engineering. His grades were solid, his future bright. He volunteered at the center every weekend, mentoring newer kids, showing them that survival was possible. Kayla had found a foster family through the program, a couple in their 40s who'd been looking for a teenager. They'd clicked immediately. Elena had watched Kayla bloom over the months, watched her smile come easier, watched her start to believe she deserved good things. Anthony was working in the center's kitchen, teaching other kids to cook. He'd discovered a talent for it, a passion, was talking about culinary school. His anger had faded, replaced by purpose. Sophia volunteered every weekend running art therapy sessions. She decided to study social work in college, wanted to do what her mother did, wanted to see people the way Diane had taught them. Richard Harrison had started a consulting firm for nonprofits, helping other foundations navigate the legal and financial complexities Elena had faced. He had lost his company, but found his purpose. He came to the center twice a week, sat with kids, listened to their stories, learned what it meant to give instead of take. Peters had pushed through a city grant program for youth services. Jennifer ran it, funneling resources to organizations like Second Wind. Father and daughter worked together, now making up for lost time. Thornton's son Daniel had built Second Wind's website and online presence, all pro bono. The site was beautiful, functional, reaching kids across the country. He'd turned his trauma into purpose. And Diane Morris, 74 years old and showing no signs of slowing down, ran the Pittsburgh Center with the same gentle firmness she'd shown that 11-year-old girl 21 years ago. She knew every kid by name, knew their stories, their fears, their dreams, made each one feel seen. On the 6-month anniversary, Elena stood in the Pittsburgh Center's common room during Diane's birthday celebration. 50 kids from the program had gathered to sing happy birthday. When the song ended, Diane wiped her eyes and looked around at all those faces. Thank you, she said simply, for letting an old woman be part of your lives, for trusting us with your stories, for believing you matter. Elena stepped forward. Mrs. Morris, 21 years ago, you gave me a piece of bread and 3 words. Today we want to give you something back. She gestured around the room. A family. 50 kids who know they matter because you made sure we never forgot. This isn't just your center, it's your legacy. Proof that one act of kindness can echo across decades and change the world. Diane was crying, laughing, overwhelmed. I didn't do this. You all did. We did it together, Elena corrected. All of us. Because that's what family does. Shows up, fights, loves each other, even when it's hard. Later, after the celebration wound down, Elena found Diane sitting in the kitchen looking at a photo of Emily. She would have loved this, Diane said quietly. All of it. The noise, the chaos, the kids. You honored her memory, Elena said, by saving me, by saving all of us. Diane smiled. No, baby. She saved you. Through me. That's how love works. It doesn't die. It just finds new ways to live. Elena sat beside her, this woman who'd been her savior, her mentor, her mother in all the ways that mattered. I got an email today, Elena said, from a teacher in Boston. She has 3 students aging out of foster care this year. Wants to know if Second Wind can help. Can we? Not yet, but we're working on it. Elena pulled out her phone, showed Diane the plan. 5 more cities next year, 10 the year after. By 2030, we want Second Wind in every major city in America. Diane's eyes widened. That's ambitious. That's necessary. There are 400,000 kids in foster care right now. 20,000 age out every year, most with nothing and no one. Elena's voice was fierce. We're going to change that. One kid at a time, one center at a time, until every single one of them knows they matter. Then we better get started, Diane said. They sat together in the quiet kitchen, 2 women who'd found each other across an impossible divide and built a revolution from bread and 3 words. Elena's phone buzzed, a message from a number she didn't recognize. My name is James. I'm 17. I age out in 3 months and I'm terrified. Someone told me you help kids like me. Is that true? Elena looked at Diane, who nodded. She typed back, it's true, we're here, and James, you matter. Don't ever forget that. 3 dots appeared. Then thank you. Nobody's ever said that to me before. Well, we're saying it now, and we'll keep saying it as long as you need to hear it. Welcome to Second Wind. Welcome home. Elena set down her phone and looked around the center. At the phoenix on the wall, at the kids sleeping safe in beds upstairs, at Diane beside her, still fighting, still believing, still showing up. 21 years ago, she'd been a broken child in a bakery, certain she was worthless. Now she was a woman who'd built a movement, who'd proven that kindness wasn't weakness, it was revolution. That one person choosing to see another could change everything. The phoenix on the wall seemed to glow brighter in the dim light, rising from flames, reborn, just like her, just like all of them, because everyone mattered. And that simple truth, spoken with love and backed by action, was enough to move mountains, change lives, and prove that the best thing you can give someone isn't money or opportunity or even safety. It's the unshakable belief that they're worth saving. Elena Hayes had received that gift from Diane Morris 21 years ago. Now surrounded by kids who carried that same gift forward, she finally understood what Diane had known all along. This was never about one person saving another. It was about teaching people to save themselves, and then teaching them to save others, over and over. A chain of kindness stretching across decades, across cities, across lives. Ripples becoming waves, waves becoming a movement. A movement that would never stop as long as someone somewhere was willing to look at a broken kid and say 3 simple words. You matter. That was the revolution. That was everything. And it was just beginning.